But so I find this beautiful instrument. I send Chris a picture, interested in learning restoration, and he's like, do not touch that.
Every instrument carries a story waiting to be heard.
Just close enough to cause that clash.
I'm David Lian, and this is The Instrument Makers, a YouTube series where we visit diverse instrument workshops,
Bravo.
explore the artistry and techniques of master artisans,
Nice, that was gorgeous. That was so fun.
and share the remarkable journeys and insights we discover along the way.
It does not always look like it's going well, even though it is.
When a community moves across the world, they bring their memories, language, their food, and their music. But while recipes can be written down, the sound of a culture is fragile. It lives in instruments that crack and recordings that fade or are forgotten. Today, we're in Massachusetts to meet Jesse of Brightwood Projects, who has dedicated his life to making sure that those sounds don't disappear. Jesse is a preservationist and an instrument maker with a fascinating specialty, the string traditions of Western Asia. From the oud to the bouzouki, his workshop is a bridge between cultures. Interestingly, Jesse isn't from the region. He stumbled into this musical diaspora and never looked back. In addition to building and restoring these instruments, he's archiving the sounds of the local Armenian community. Joining us is Rhea, who you'll remember from the last episode, and her unique fiddle banjo, which he finished building on the day of my visit. Anyways, let's dive into Jesse's journey and the impact he's making with his work. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out my website to read some behind the scenes. You can support this passion project by visiting my Ko-fi page, where you can buy merch such as stickers, sheet music, and guitar picks, and some curated and rare Japanese instruments, such as a Suzuki bowback mandolin or taishokoto.
So my name's Jesse Kenneth Collins. We're in Worcester, Massachusetts. So I'm making string instruments primarily from Middle Eastern diaspora cultures. Wide pan there from Turkey, Syria, Greece. Yeah, so ouds, bouzouki's, saz, kanun, all sorts of nice plucked instruments.
Jesse's passion for stringed instruments spans a vast cultural crossroads which covers areas described as Western Asia, Middle East, Eastern Mediterranean, or the Levant. To understand his work, we have to look at how these instruments branched off from a single ancient root. We start over 5,000 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia with the legendary oud. Today, Jesse works with two primary descendants, the Arabic oud, prized for its large body and deep woody resonance, and the Turkish oud, which is smaller, tuned higher, sounding brighter, and often playing faster. As the oud traveled west, it became the ancestor of the European lute. In fact, the word lute comes directly from the Arabic al-oud. While the oud remained fretless to capture the sliding microtones of the Middle Eastern maqams, the lute eventually gained fixed frets to accommodate Western harmony. This lineage eventually paved the way for the mandolin and the modern guitar. In Greece, this evolution took a unique turn. As the music shifted towards Western tonalities, the bowl-back design evolved into the bouzouki. This instrument, along with its smaller siblings, the tores and the tiny baglamas, became the heart of Greek music. Interestingly, the bouzouki even made a leap to the Atlantic. In the 1960s, Johnny Moynihan of Sweeney's Men brought one to Ireland, where it was modified into the Irish bouzouki, now a staple in Celtic folk. A cousin of the bouzouki is the similarly named Levantine bouzouk. While the Greek version uses fixed metal frets on Western scales, the bouzouki uses movable nylon or gut frets, allowing the player to shift the notes to hit the traditional microtonal intervals. Other variations of the oud are the lalto and the lavta. The lalto has a oud-shaped body with the frets and steel strings of a lute. Meanwhile, the lavta, or Constantinople lute, was a chic instrument of Istanbul's cafes. Smaller than the oud and fitted with many microtonal frets, it was designed for the fast-paced entertainment of the city rather than the meditative solo style of the oud. Further east is the tar, the soul of Persian music. Carved from a single block of mulberry wood into a distinct figure-8 shape, its skin-covered face gives it a haunting, vibrating resonance unlike anything else in the region. Finally, there is the canon, a zither harp-like instrument that, depending on the region, uses a complex system of small metal levers to adjust the tuning of its strings on the fly, allowing playing of different microtones, scales, and maqams. While the canon reached Europe, it evolved into the psaltery. In the quest to mechanize this sound, inventors eventually created the harpsichord, providing the structural blueprint for what would eventually become the modern piano. These instruments demonstrate that musical boundaries have never been fixed. As people migrated and traded across the region, they shared and modified these designs to fit their own traditions, and carried these traditions as they migrated to the Americas and elsewhere in the world.
Yeah, so it's my life continues to be sort of multi-tracked. I do a lot of different kinds of works in different disciplines, but they do all sort of intersect. So I went to art school, actually. I went to the School of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, and I've always at the same time been playing music, mostly in an improvised context. So I went to art school so as not to ruin music for myself.
Are you from Worcester?
I'm not. I'm from central New York State.
Oh, way up there.
Yeah, like Geneva, New York. It's south of Rochester by about an hour. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I was always playing music as a kid.
What instruments?
I was playing guitar, trumpet. I started on trumpet in about 4th grade. I was playing guitar a lot, and that's probably the first time that I started to like tinker, was like Frankensteining my, getting the cheapo thrift store guitar and sort of learning from. There was an amazing record store in the town I grew up in called Area Records, to whom Michael, Jeff, Keith, all those guys, I owe so much of my mindset and my attitude. But so I learned a lot from working with them. They had a great tech there, Chuck Brzee, and he would reset neck angles on like really junk instruments. So I was playing with stuff at that level, but I wasn't thinking of it in terms of like, oh, maybe I'll make instruments. When I got to SMFA, there was a teacher, Walter Stonnell, there who ran the wood shop, and he made early music, string instruments, and guitars as well. So he was making lutes and vihuelas and stuff like that. So he taught a night class that was a lot of tough students, and people would build a Appalachian dulcimer. And then I took that once. I built a dulcimer, essentially like a plywood dulcimer. And then after that, I built a Renaissance vihuela with him. So that was the first proper lutherie project that I did.
When you went into that school, what did you want to focus on or study your major in?
So I came in painting, actually, and then I sort of, through the wood shop, ended up making sculpture.
Do you still paint?
I don't paint. This satisfies all of the decorative and aesthetic elements. I was getting technical skill right. I was like a woodshop monitor and blah, 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 right? So, but outside of that, Boston had an amazing experimental music scene. I was performing there at that time, like 2008, 2012, there was a lot of house shows, and there was a really great scene of folks who had stuck around Boston, who are really rooted, multi-generational, between performance artists. And there was a record store that I also owe a ton to. Record stores are key here, actually. So centers. Weirdo Records, Angela Sawyer, total community centers. Angela exposed me to so much music, and really she and a ton of folks that are just like too numerous to recount all brought me into that community. So I was playing improvised music, and I was like full on into that, and still participate. I mean, that's really my community. You play oud too, so you bought a Turkish oud in Istanbul?
Yeah, and a saz as well. I went to a place in the Grand Bazaar, not the best place to buy an instrument, but I went one year and I bought a duduk, a medium duduk. It's gorgeous. Yeah. And I went back a year and a half later, and the guy recognized me. He's like, "You bought a duduk from me a year and a half ago."
That's amazing.
I was like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm back again. Give me a saz."
That's an amazing memory.
Yeah.
So I played Irish Mizuki when I was like in high school, and it's just so crazy to me because people were like, where did that come from? It's like, oh yeah, it's just some guy.
Sure.
Some guy in the 70s. It's like, let's get.
No, I think that is like, to your question as well about like, I mean, there's purists in every form, in every community, right? Like, to your question about how is it being a outsider from one place into another, like it can be contentious, but if you're transparent and vocal and like conscious of it, you know, then you're making music. Right. So I'm working in the wood shop. Yeah. I'm getting exposed to all this weird music. I built this vihuela, and then I graduate, and I pretty much went right into art handling. So I started working for museums because I had the technical skill for building and whatever. I still do some of that as well, although at this point it's a little more minimal. I did that for a long time and kind of let the lutherie sit really for a handful of years. I would pick things up occasionally. Like I do a lot of thrifting. So I would see a nice old instrument and be like, one of these, in the back of my mind, it was always like, I want to do some restoration. So I was amassing some of that. And what really brought me to the Middle Eastern families of instruments was that I found a pile of 78s, early 20th century recordings of mostly Armenian, Greek, and Turkish music. And it just blew my mind. Okay. So I went down the rabbit hole of just exploring that whole musical history, a lot of which was recorded here in the teens and the 20s, right? Because the Armenian genocide and sort of the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. But Worcester actually itself was one of the earliest enclaves in the 1890s, I want to say, the Armenian community in particular. But along with that, like Assyrian, Greek communities as well. That broad sort of late Ottoman minority music, essentially. So large minorities. Like there are a lot of Armenians and a lot of Greeks.
You're not Armenian, are you?
I'm not. So I think the first thing was really, I mean, there's a microtonal aspect for sure that intersected with what I was listening for in experimental music, you know, and timbre that was just like remarkable. I think the timbre of a 100-year-old recording is its own like noise experience. So that's it kind of has its own appeal, right? I found 25 Armenian records in a thrift store because those are the communities that were still in that and are still in that area. And so I think that my experience with a really tight-knit experimental music community in a specific region, like when I was record collecting, I was always looking for, I would pick it up if it was made in Boston. If it was like a cheesy lounge record, I would pick it up, you know? So there was always a focus on like the community function of these things and the fact that they're documenting a particular group of people in a particular place. So I think the fact that like in the 20s in New York and Boston, that there were like private labels from small communities recording regional repertoire is like amazing. And that period in history too, with the first recordings is like, right, so music had this social function forever. Yeah. And now here comes recording and it can be a commodity. Yeah. And so in those first decades of recording, it's the first time that you can hear now, in the present, you can hear a recording of the music that served that social function. Yeah. And a ton of them were very explicitly like they were documenting. I mean, it's fully aware of the context that they were recording in. Like they were documenting the life from their home, you know? Yeah. Right, so I find these records, my friend Angela's like, hey, the Armenian Museum in Watertown has thousands of them. Right, so I ended up doing a project that I'm still doing with them, preserving, you know, digitizing their recordings. So I'm like deep in that, and I'm listening to it, and I've got these broken instruments, and I'm like, all right, well, damn, I gotta find like a nice old oud. On Craigslist, I find a beautiful old oud. I don't know what it is. I can't read Arabic, right? So I look up oud repair in Massachusetts. Chris Pontazellos of Spartan Instruments is your first hit, right? He's just an absolute master. He studied under Peter Kavelos. And so these guys are both Greek. Peter's Greek, American-born, and Chris came here in the 1960s, started studying with Peter in the 80s. So these guys are servicing the instruments for the Greek community, for the Armenian community, for the Arabic community and whatnot. But so I find this beautiful instrument, I send Chris a picture, I say, hey, I'm this person, I found a beautiful instrument, I'm interested in learning restoration, but it looks nice and I don't know if I should mess with it. And he's like, do not touch that. So I found for like no money, I found oud by George Hananahat, who is the last in a dynasty of some of the most famous Syrian oud makers. And so I was like, okay, well, I won't touch it. I'll pay you, like, please do the restoration, take your time. If I could shadow you in that process, like, I would love that. And he's so gracious. He will give his immense knowledge and time and patience to anybody who walks in the door. So we did that process, and then pandemic happened. I moved to Worcester.
Why Worcester?
I came to work at the Worcester Art Museum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was still doing art handling, and it was sort of the pandemic destabilized things. Thinking about leaving Boston just because, the inevitability of cost.
Yes.
But so after that, there was a Mass Cultural Council grant opportunity for traditional arts apprenticeship, and I reached out to Chris and I was like, hey, it's not $1 million, but like this would give us an excuse if you'd be open to like training me. So for 2 years under that grant, we did kind of a remote thing. I would go down there once a month, but we would be on the phone and on video. Like, I was setting up this shop, and we would be on the phone and on video as much as we could afford to spend our time. Yeah, so we did that for 2 years, built Azura, an Arabic and a Turkish oud, did a number of restorations that have since gone out into the world.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm still helping Chris to the best of my ability. I go down there a couple times a month, and he's, if you need work done, Spartan Instruments, Lowell, Massachusetts, I mean, he's a master, and I'm immensely grateful to be absorbing what I can from him.
So this is the form for one of the...
Yeah, so this is the Turkish...
And I can see it's got the flattened.
Chris taught me to build by pretty much just like roughly lay out how many staves you want on it, and then put one down, and then start fitting to that one.
Yeah,
and it
sure.
And I kept thinking, well, there's got to be a way to do templates. There's got to be a way to do templates.
Yeah.
Right? And the answer is, I think, of course, that Chris was right, at least with this flattening. Well, so what I did when I started building this one was that I put my block on. So there's like a block in the back and a head block there that can come off the form. And so I fitted up with the 2 blocks.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And I paper mache'd the entire thing.
Okay.
And then I did all the layout with a, because you want a proportion among the ribs that's like, actually, this guy is like the perfect illustration of it, because he like did a perfect job. Right, you want like the ends to be all about equal, and then you want the last rib to be about 1.5 the width of the rest of them.
I love how there's a picture of the guy inside.
This is a beautiful label.
You're gonna start doing that for you?
No, I know. I've got my label. It's not got my picture. I took my label design from a 78.
Is this something you're working on?
So this is I'm building a Turkish oud. Essentially, here, I'll flip it. And the mold has like a nice interior so that you can like grab it.
You made the mold as well?
I made the mold, I carved it up. You start from a strip like that, you bend it. I sort of bend it to an average, and then you're tweaking it, as you come to it. But basically, you need it to sit flat, right?
Right.
So you can see, I'm like using this center line, the drawn line there corresponds to a drawn line here. Yeah. And so I'm pretty much like, I'll put that there.
And then you see...
Maybe tape it, and then that tells me, right,
where
like,
to bend,
I've got to get down to there.
Yeah.
So you sort of get it flat, you like roughly get in there, right, and say, all right, well, that's the end of my stave there. Really crudely. We're probably talking something like that.
Yeah.
And same on the back. Just like...
You just zip it off.
Hack it, right?
Yeah. This is the thing that when people see me do this, they're like, you gotta sharpen your tools. You gotta take less. I'm like, no, you gotta get through
you gotta get it.
You gotta
off.
get it.
Like,
You're gonna be here for like 2 hours if you're doing it. Like,
and now we can see like, we're getting there, but like I've still gotta go.
Lord.
Right. So,
with electric saw nut.
Yeah, I've done that too. Where like, I've done that too, where I've drawn it out. The thing is that it's kind of easier to draw on this face rather than this face. That was part of my hope with the template. But once you like really inspect like flatness,
then you have to
you've actually got a ways to go.
Oh yeah.
And it becomes, so at this point, once I'm like in a zone like that, I'll actually switch to this guy.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, well, I know I need to take some off from there. And I'll, oops. And like small passes on that will start to like make a huge difference. Right, if I go too far there, now I'm coming back and I'm like taking a whole bit from the center, and you're just sort of like, right, and then that's actually starting to, so it's actually where it's riding up. And that's where the choices you've made on the previous stave start to get you. It does seem to be mostly like local diaspora is like the general client base.
People who already know the music, or they're like, ooh, I've
both,
never,
and a lot of restoration stuff is sort of instruments that have just been in the family. So it's a lot. I think it is still within those communities and the diasporas are different phases of there's folks coming over for different reasons now, and
of course,
sure, I mean it is it's certainly within a parameter of tradition. So in following Chris's methodology, training under him, I would say like his instruments are a bit larger overall than a standard Turkish or Arabic, because he's kind of chasing more projection, more sort of frequency spectrum, etc. A lot of which comes from the way you graduate the top and your bracing and everything, but a big instrument sounds like a big instrument. So the method that he's using that I think differs from a lot of like certainly the factory made instruments is that so to make that slightly larger size handleable for the player, he's borrowing from the Greek lauto tradition, where they sort of like flatten the back a little bit. So you've got like the profile of the face, and then it's not really a spherical, it doesn't translate all the way to the spine, right? So it allows you to make a wider face and get a good like overall large chamber, but it brings it into the player. So the upshot of that from a technical perspective is that the geometry of fitting the ribs becomes like a whole other thing, where like if it's more spherical, right, each rib is essentially the same profile, but when you push it, I can show you this on the form too, when you push it, it just becomes, each profile of each rib becomes specific to itself, right? So the fitting is more involved, but the ergonomics of it compromises that sort of like increased tone production without like sacrificing, it improves the ergonomics as well. So I've been following that methodology. I'm pretty happy with the results of that. Chris helped me sort of, there's a few folks who have made bass ouds. It sort of references a Persian instrument called the barbat. But they clearly did exist in Ottoman repertoire at a certain period and sort of fell out. So we were sort of compromising between a modern instrument and some of the historical references. So it's a whole octave down from...
What? That's it.
It's kind of parallel in terms of like the restoration of the instruments in a way. It's like the Armenian Museum in particular has thousands of 78s made between like 1910, 1950.
So now you are digitizing it.
So I am making digital transfers, and then every month we look through the collection, look through what we've digitized. I do some like light restoration to make things more palatable to like modern listening ears, and I work again with Harut Arakelian and Harry Kazalian to do research about, so we'll pick 4 songs and dig into the narrative of the performers, the context it was made in, and so that goes up online.
And you're still doing the digitizing of this, okay?
Yes, which could. There's so many records. I mean, it's the kind of thing you think of it as like, you just put on a record and click record, but like the technological aspect of that, because you're dealing with a historical medium, right? So like the playback equipment of the period, and the way that has to be reverse engineered to get a neutral kind of recording from which you can do competent restoration. It's amazing when you think the amount of material that has been, right? Yeah. We're like 100+ years away from the first recording, and we're like, oh my Lord, it's exponential, The museum itself gets like, every once in a while, they get an email that's like, hey, that's my, I knew so-and-so, or that's my grandpa, or I know that recently Harut wrote a piece about a soundtrack from one of the first Armenian language films made in America, and I think the grandson of the artist wrote to him and said, hey, I have like the only existing copy of the can of film, and you know what I mean? And so sometimes there just needs to be like a little bit of an impetus for people to say, oh, right, that thing that's been sitting there, like a lot of this stuff can still be shared and restored and worked with, so.
How do you navigate, as you building these instruments, who is not Armenian or have that background as a musician either? How do you kind of navigate that balance? Or have you ever gotten flack for it?
I haven't found that to be an issue. I think that, there's diversity in all of those groups at the same time, diversity of perspective and diversity of personal and family histories and all that kind of thing. And at the end of the day, like a lot of folks are still just energized about the music and the culture and are happy to take contributions from different angles. I'm sure there's always somebody who's frustrated with wherever another person is coming from, but I really haven't encountered that. I've felt like tremendously supportive and embraced.
Oh, that's fantastic. What is your Desert Island album?
What's my Desert Island album? Oh, you know what? I can tell you this. Oh, because it comes on shuffle.
Yeah.
It's a 78. But it comes on shuffle in the car, and it'll like make me cry. It's Potato Head Blues by Louis Armstrong. Okay. Because I think I heard that when I was in 4th grade, and it blew my mind. And for some reason, I think it's the fact that I can go back and listen to that recording, like that moment in time. It always just drives home the profoundness of exactly that, of being like, this recording is always there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this recording is always there. These guys put it down in the 20s in some like recording studio, and it's joyous, and it's like concise, and it's expertly executed. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, Potato Head Blues. I know it sounds silly, but
that's the fastest. You're the fastest anyone's ever answered that question.
I want to make the best dude that I can make. And I'm not like tremendous, because like when you see these old instruments, it's just like, if it's not fixed or if it's not broken, don't fix it. Like I'm pretty comfortable working within the narrow constraints of the design, and just trying to make the execution sonically and aesthetically and ergonomically as high a level as I can. So I'm happy to push that. At the same time, I am, because of my experimental music background, I'm actually building an electric ahjang for a wonderful musician, Una Kim,
Can you remind me what an ajong
An
is?
ajong is the Korean variant of kind of like the koto.
Oh, okay, yeah,
right.
yeah.
So it's shorter and it's is bowed actually,
Huh.
as opposed to the plucked. Yeah. So Yuna, who is an amazing musician, playing from Korean traditional music all the way to just like harsh experimental music, which is wonderful. She wants an electric ajong with like minimal acoustic. Minimal acoustic sound that she can just like plug in, probably with a couple of different outputs, and just make a racket with, So yeah, I'm gonna help her do that. So by the same token, like, yeah, I think my personal drive is to like make the best in the traditional model that I can, but for specific artists with specific interests, I'm up to do some interesting things as well. Yeah, so this is my Turkish model. Fairly standard. Again, you can see like sort of the flattening that I'm talking about in the back, but not a professional oud player, but I'll play it in the shop for the world.
The work Jesse is doing is honestly staggering. By restoring and building these instruments and preserving lost recordings, he's ensuring that these cultural voices continue to speak to future generations. It's fascinating to see how instruments migrate and evolve, much like languages branching off from a common root. While the research into these lineages is often sparse, every string and fret tells a story of human movement. My time in the workshop only scratched the surface, but it's clear that as long as people like Jesse continue his valuable work, their music will continue. If you want to see more of Jesse's work, please check out his website. A huge thank you to Jesse for his wisdom and welcoming us into his workshop. And to our special guest, Rhea, for sharing her expertise. If you missed her episode on her fiddle banjo, please check it out on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with the people that you know. See you next time.